Good evening, y'all. This is Spencer Keck coming at you live from the Hillbilly Think Tank here in Hardin County, Kentucky, where life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is what makes life worth living for. And y'all, I am the educated hillbilly. And no, that's not an oxymoron. Don't call me a moron. There have been educated, emancipated, and erudite hillbillies since Kentucky was founded. Now, y'all, what an interesting day and week, I guess you could say, too. So the president has sacked Pam Bondi. And this is 12 days before she's supposed to go to trial herself. She's been indicted or called to testify. And he definitely, Diaper Dan, wants to get out from underneath this. He is also pissed off that she did not successfully carry out his vendettas against his political opponents or people that he despises politically. This is a woman who, when we had survivors of childhood rape testifying in Congress, she couldn't even look them in the eye. She just said, talked about the Dow, and the Dow is up. Can't y'all appreciate the fact that the Dow is up? Well, lady, I don't give a fuck if the Dow is up. I give a fuck about young girls being raped and you doing nothing about it because you protect the Epstein class. And the Dow's not helping my economy. I live on Main Street, not Wall Street. Actually, I don't even live on Main Street. I live out in the country. So, yeah. Do we care out here when the Dow is up? I don't think so. Now, on another front, Hegseth has sacked the Army Chief of Staff. It's a 4-star general. It's supposed to be a 4-year gig. It started either 22 or 23. Actually 23, so we should have had at least another year going. But nope, sacked him early, which says his views on the deployment of the troops and possible impending war must not have set right with the administration. So that is alarming and a bit worrisome. Now, let's just take a gander at what this is doing for them. Is it being reported? Is anyone really looking closely at what's going on? Because we know that last night, all we heard was basically war, according to, Marjorie Taylor Greene. And, that's one of the few times I'd have to actually agree with Marjorie. But let's see how this is playing out, him firing the top Army officer. How's it playing out nationally? What are people saying and thinking about it?
Courtney, this Army, can we call Army Chief of Staff? It is a shakeup. He did get fired based on what you're reporting is what's going on.
Yeah, it's absolutely a shakeup. So he is the senior most 4-star general in charge of the U.S. Army, the Army Chief of Staff. He's been in the job since September of 2023. He's supposed to be there for a 4-year gig. But the reality is there have been rumors that Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth was going to fire him for some time.
Predating the war?
Precisely, predating the war. And basically this is Secretary Hegseth is going after people and has been since he was nominated or since he was confirmed into this job, and sworn in, he goes after people who have any kind of ties to DEI, have any ties to the retired General Mark Milley and the previous administration, and that's where Randy George fell in here, the Army general. He worked directly as the senior military aide for the former Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin. So the reality is he has been in the crosshairs with Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth for some time. But I cannot stress to you enough the idea that the Secretary of Defense just fired the head of the Army, the 4-star general in charge of the United States Army while the U.S. is at war, is for nothing to do with the war, by the way, is so beyond unorthodox.
So we are just getting in a statement from the Pentagon. I'm going to show you off of my computer too, because it's literally just coming in as you're speaking here. But the general confirming that he will be, they say retiring from his position here, effective immediately. We've got the statement up on screen saying that the Department of War, that's what they call it, is grateful for General George's decades of service to our nation. We wish him well in his retirement. To your point, Courtney, they're framing it as a retirement. It's in the middle of this war against Iran. Does this operationally, do we know even what this operationally means for the actual strikes, attacks, targets that they're trying to hit?
Probably nothing. I mean, I don't think this will have a direct impact on what we're seeing the U.S. do in Iran right now, or even the strategy going forward or anything like that. But the reason that something like this normally would not happen is because it just conveys to an enemy like Iran a sense of chaos, a sense of uncertainty, or potentially even weakness. It is just simply not done. And again, if in fact something like this does happen when you're in the middle of a conflict, it would generally be because there is some specific tie to the conflict. The individual was seen as having done something wrong or immoral or whatever it is. In this case, the officials who we're speaking to said it is because of his ties to the former Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin.
And the officials you're speaking with also say it's not a retirement, right?
Well, he has to retire because he's a 4-star general. So if he doesn't have another job to go to, which he doesn't, he's forced to retire.
Got it. Okay. Courtney Kuby, great reporting from you and the team. Thank you. Come back as we are learning more about this. As you say, it is not nothing. That's for sure. Thanks, Court.
We thank you for watching. And remember.
So I would disagree with her there. I think that it actually had a lot to do with the war. I do think he was an important part of, what goes on in the military. He's the head of it, except for, the only person above him is the Secretary of Defense. So this, to me, like they were saying, though, they were correct. This sends a bad signal to our enemy. It says that we are in chaos in our military and in our government. So, yeah, this is not the signal you want to be sending when you're trying to start basically World War III, possibly. As I laid out last night, we've now got Chechnya said they will get involved in this war. We've got the Houthis involved already in Yemen. Iraq is sending nearly 300,000 troops into Iran to help the Iranians. Yeah, this is not at all something that you want to portray chaos as we're sitting thinking about doing. We're not exactly sure yet, but it sounded to me from that horrible speech last night like we're not planning on backing down. So, all right, before I go on, looks like we got old guy in North Carolina here saying, evening, Spencer. Evening there in North Carolina. Erudite. Yeah. That's, I do like to read, even though I'm an outdoor kind of guy too, but I am an English language arts teacher now that I'm retired from the military. So, and retired, went, did some time in the VA before I came over. Old guy. Yes. And she'll still be expected to testify. I wonder if she'll be so crushed by losing her job that she falls out a window. All right, sounds like he was qualified, so had to go. And that's exactly it. He was qualified, so had to go. That is exactly what it is. And I'm sure he was not a yes man. And, they love some yes men in this administration. All right, well, let's look at what one of my favorite Sources has to say about this. OAF Nation. I noticed they were posting a little bit about it earlier. So OAF Nation says, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has asked the Army's top uniformed officer, Randy George, to step down. The Pentagon said Thursday as the United States continues its war with Iran. A Pentagon official speaking on condition of anonymity due to the sensitivity of the matter confirmed that George has been asked to take early retirement from his role as Army Chief of Staff, a position he has held since August 2023. Yeah, that's supposed to be at least a 4-year position. So he should have been there until August of 27. So this is ludicrous. Now, on the same front, I think it's interesting. Trump's ex-spiritual advisor is released from jail after serving only 6 months for abusing a 12-year-old girl. Only 6 months. That's kind of people they're keeping around while letting it go, letting go of folks like this great general. Now, if you haven't heard, the president said we can't afford to do Medicaid. We can't afford to do money for preschool or anything else to help out folks. We can't even do Social Security, Medicaid, any of that stuff, he says. Well, number one, we're not supposed to be dipping into Social Security for a war. George Bush did that, and that was against the law, but he did it. So hopefully we're not doing that. But yeah, he says we got to pay for this war. Really? So yeah, this is just a great picture here of what that means. Every Tomahawk cruise missile costs you $3 million, right? So our war plan, as it says here, is so poorly conceived that in addition to killing Iranian schoolgirls with them, we're using them to shoot down $20,000 drones. I'd say they're even cheaper than that, because our leadership isn't just immoral, it's incompetent. President wants another $200 billion for the same. Never let them tell you there's not enough money. There's always enough money. But right now the president is saying there's not enough money for school kids, preschool programs, for Medicaid, all these things that we need. But yeah, plenty of money for these missiles. And they want more. Well, y'all, in addition, again, we know Pam Bondi has been sacked. And I think that is really almost hilarious if it wasn't just so damn sad. The way she treated the victims of Epstein is heinous. It's going to go down in history as being someone who pretended to be a Christian, but didn't at all really share the heart of Christ. So let's check out though, see what she really thinks.
For live reaction, Democratic Congressman Seth Moulton of Massachusetts. Congressman, good to see you. What's your reaction to Pam Bondi being fired?
I mean, look, I agree with what Takeem Jeffries just said. As she is an extremist, she's petulant. I mean, she comes to Congress like a child, and it's embarrassing for the whole institution. But let's be more specific about what's going on here. She was about to be deposed in the Epstein case. That's why Trump got rid of her 12 days before that was supposed to happen. And he's put in place someone who did a sweetheart deal for him with regards to Epstein, the guy who went down and interviewed Ghislaine Maxwell and got her out of a maximum security prison, got her all sorts of favors that criminals like her are not afforded, all because she's willing to do favors for the president of the United States and help cover up his biggest political liability.
Robert Garcia, who you know is the ranking member on that committee, is intending to try to still get her to testify. Do you see a possibility of that happening?
I mean, I don't know, because he can probably try to hold her accountable to the law. But we all know that this administration is not accountable to the law. And so I expect Trump to do everything that he can come up with to try to get her out of testifying, because it could be embarrassing to her. I mean, remember, she's the one who said she had the Epstein files on her desk. I have the client list in front of me, she said. And then all of a sudden she changed her story and that went away. We now know, of course, that's because Donald Trump's name occurs more than just about any other name other than Jeffrey Epstein in the Epstein files. And it's the single thing that's actually hurting his base. So basically what's happening is he's replacing one child pedophile protector with another. That's what's going on. And that's just an embarrassment that that's the top justice official in the United States of America.
Is that how you view Todd Blanche? I mean, we were just discussing the fact that just a couple of months ago, he went inside the prison where Ghislaine Maxwell was serving time and asked her a series of pretty soft questions. And then she got, and we've never gotten a real explanation for this, she got transferred to a prison camp. Does anything change, do you think, if it's Todd Blanche, or is there someone, for example, Lee Zeldin's name has been put out there?
So not only did she get transferred to a soft prison camp, she is being treated with kid gloves since Blanche went there and interviewed her. And she's even got an emotional support animal with her, emotional support puppy. My God, just the gall of this administration blows me away. So, y'all, at the same time this is going on, gas prices went up to $4, just for talking about for regular gas. Diesel is so much higher. And I just, every day, I am feeling for my friends that are in farming, that are raising cattle, raising soybeans, need to bring in the hay this year. It is not, looking good. And so the war is still waging on. The Strait of Hormuz is still closed, still jacking up those oil prices, making more and more money for Barron Trump. Now the number has moved from 30,000 that this young man who's not even 21 years old yet invested, but actually it was 50 million. So right before the war, right before Daddy starts this war, he invests 50 million. And at the same time, his older brother invests in an AI program, a drone program that the Pentagon took on board 11 days before this conflict started. So they're war profiteers, war racketeers, and we're paying for it. They should have their boots on the ground in infantry uniform. I don't care if it's Army or Marines. Get them in an infantry uniform. Get them in the front lines. All right. Let them earn that 50 million that Barron invested, and let his older brother earn the millions that he invested. This is absolutely ludicrous, but it's beyond that. It's a travesty of the greatest proportions. Farmers can't get enough fuel in their tractors here in Hardin County to do what they need to do. Folks that already were hurting when it came to food stamps, Medicaid, and all these things, with the big, beautiful bill being passed, and with the government shutdown that we've had in this past year. Now the president's telling them, oh, there's not going to be enough money to help people out because the war is more important. Wow. We have lost our anchor and lost our soul, because I know something in the Beatitudes said that we should take care of the orphans and the widows, that the meek shall inherit the earth, or actually not the earth, inherit the kingdom. So, yeah, I don't think they should have to wait until they die, though, to inherit goodness and goodwill. That's just, that's just my 2 cents. So, well, let's go look a little bit more at Pam Bondi there. Take a trip down memory lane. And what was it that she is so famous for? We know that she refused to apologize.
It was
the
a hearing that was combative right from the very start.
You can let her filibuster all day long, but not on our watch. Not on our time. No way. And I told you about that, Attorney General, before you started.
You don't tell me.
Yeah, I did tell you because we saw what you did in the Senate.
A hearing with Attorney General Pam Bondi that got so heated, one Democratic member left the hearing room.
Didn't ask Merrick Garland anything about Epstein, not once when he was.
Weak sauce.
And also, I want the record to reflect that, with this anti-Semitic culture right now, she voted against a resolution condemning.
Oh,
is
Jewish.
I just want to be clear.
So you want to go there, Attorney General? Are you serious? Talking about anti-Semitism to a woman who lost her grandfather in the Holocaust.
Bondi challenged by Republican Tom Massey over the Department of Justice redactions in the file, including Leslie Wexner, founder of Victoria's Secret.
Within 40 minutes, Wexner's name was added back.
Within 40 minutes of me catching you red-handed.
There was one redaction out of
He's
over
listed as a
4,700.
co-conspirator.
This guy has Trump derangement syndrome.
Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal asking Epstein survivors in the audience to stand and offering Bondi the opportunity to apologize to them.
Will you turn to them now and apologize for what your Department of Justice has put them through?
I'm not going to get in the gutter for her theatrics.
Afterwards, several of those survivors sitting down with NBC's Hallie Jackson.
Show me your hands if you were satisfied with what you heard from the Attorney General today. Nobody.
There wasn't even an adult in the room that could apologize for the damage done to children and girls.
Saying they just want accountability.
We've heard several times our government say, we're moving on from this, and that just enrages me.
So we're moving on from this. That's what we've heard and seen over and over. We know this conflict in the Middle East is a great attempt to move on from this, distract us from this, but I hope no one is being distracted from this. Welcome, Tom. Tom says, I reflexively type her surname like the name of Adolf's dog, Blondie, or Blondie. That is a darn good one, Tom. So, many folks have, this isn't Trump derangement syndrome. This is folks just, really looking for accountability. And America demands it. We want our daughters to never be treated this way and never to have to go through this by billionaires mistreating the misfortunate girls.
Of Epstein's co-conspirators have you indicted? How many perpetrators are you even?
The Dow right now is over 50,000. I don't know why you're laughing. That's what we should be talking about. The Dow right now. S&P at almost 7,000. The American people need to know this. Need to know how is the Dow.
You're fired.
So she's fired. And do I really, again, like I said, give a flying crap about the Dow? Not when it comes to justice. I sure don't. And apparently, old Pam, she really was begging Trump not to fire her. But this came the day after she rode with him in what they call the Beast, the presidential limo, from the White House over to the Supreme Court. First time ever that a president has sat in on the Supreme Court. He thought that his presence was going to force them to reread the 14th Amendment to not include children that were born here if they don't meet his classification of what American should look like. All right. So he doesn't, the 14th Amendment says you are born in the US, you are a citizen. Lays it out plain and simple, but he doesn't like that. He wanted the Supreme Court to read it his way. And he thought that being there would do that. Of course, he couldn't stay asleep long enough to hear the whole thing out. So they had to leave early. When she had to ride all the way there and all the way back with him, sat with him in the Supreme Court, and then gets fired the next day. So obviously, he blames her for not being able to manipulate the Supreme Court judges also. So on that note, let's see. She was begging not to be fired. Can you imagine being that much of a loser? You've got to beg this guy.
All right. The worst presidential speech in American history happened last night. The market started crashing. Oil started increasing. It was a jet stream of dementia craziness. The only bright side to this is the Fox bubble that this man lives in, where they protect him. It was on national television, global television. And
so that's a good thing we got going from last night. That everyone had to see it. All right. It didn't just stream on networks that were not Fox. Even Fox played it. And like they said, prices of oil just went straight to the roof because it was obvious that the war is going to keep on going on. And the Dow took a hit. Oh, the Dow, she said Pam Bondi. Well, yeah, there you go. We'll talk about it now. He's trashing it. You know, worldwide right now, this is causing chaos and mayhem. You know, in Australia, their prime minister had to go on the air and tell folks they've got to start rationing gasoline, telling folks to stay home. You know, they're getting work from home orders and just don't drive. They don't have enough gasoline to come into that country. In other third world countries right now, bandits are stealing fuel. Folks are having literal fights over it, physical fights over fuel shortage. It's causing worldwide chaos. We're losing our allies. And this did not have to happen. That's the thing. This was a war of choice that we were coerced into by Saudi Arabia and Benjamin Netanyahu. What the Prince of Saudi Arabia and Benjamin Netanyahu have wanted this debacle with Iran for many, many years now. And they finally got their man. So what do you think? So my phone number is 606-253-9885. Give me a call. Let me know if you think this is helping the economy. Has it helped you? Has it improved your bottom line? Hey, do you care about the Dow? Like Pam Bondi said? Or, you know, if you do, let me know. Let me know why I maybe should care too. But call, yeah, if you think the economy is doing great, or if you think the economy is doing what? You tell me. Is it great, or is it in shambles worldwide? All right. So 606-253-9885. Also, this to me is one of the most horrendous things that I've seen, but ICE has been told to go to Marine Corps boot camp graduation in South Carolina and wait for Hispanic immigrants to come in and see their sons and daughters graduate from Marine Corps boot camp and to grab those immigrants. Come on, y'all. Is there nothing less patriotic than that? That is a slap in the face to anyone who actually really, really cares about our country and about our economy and about our military, but you are hurting the folks that serve our country, defend our country, and should be defenders of a good economy. It should be. It's not their fault that they're being used right now in a way that is not helping the economy. But it's not their fault. But every single Marine that graduates from boot camp, they're doing something that very, very, very few can tolerate to do. And to not allow them to have their parents come to their Marine Corps boot camp graduation is an affront to anything that I'll ever call patriotic. So please don't tell me that this is a patriotic administration when they're telling ICE to go to Marine Corps boot camp in South Carolina and deport folks coming to watch their family members graduate. Yeah. So, all right. If you haven't heard about that, I really encourage anyone, to pay close attention. Well, in addition, like I said, this president is saying there's not enough money to help regular Americans out with things that they need. But we know they got plenty of money for these missiles.
Are willing to move in a different direction for their country. That would be great. Imagine in Iran that instead of spending their wealth, billions of dollars supporting terrorists or weapons, had spent that money helping the people of Iran, you'd have a much different country. So we are always hopeful that that would exist over there.
It's not possible for us to take care of daycare, Medicaid, Medicare, all these individual things. They can do it on a state basis. You can't do it on a federal. We have to take care of one thing, military protection.
And at the end of the day, I think that if there are people in Iran who now, given everything that's happened, are willing to move in a different direction for their country, that would be great. Imagine in Iran that instead of spending their wealth, billions of dollars supporting terrorists or weapons, had spent that money helping the people of Iran, you'd have a much different country. So we are always hopeful that that would exist over there.
It's not.
So they're supposed to do what we're not doing. All right. They're supposed to take care of their people, not invest in weapons. The day before, Marco Rubio and Pete Hegseth also were talking about how horrible Iran is for spending so much money on their military and neglecting their people. And yet then the next day, the president says, hey, we're going to have to neglect the people. Did you hear what he said? Not just Medicaid, but also Medicare. So my mom, your grandparents, your parents are not going to be able to get their Medicare. This is not tenable. This is not something we can keep on doing and call ourselves a great country. We must take care of our elderly in this country. We must take care of those that can't take care of themselves. We're not great if we don't do that. We're just some third-rate country run solely by billionaires. And that's it. If that's what the way we're going to act and behave. And it appears like that's the way we really want to keep on acting and behaving. And that, to me, is one of the worst things that I've ever seen this country think about. Well, y'all, let me know. What do you think? If you want to give me a call before I sign off here, 606-253-9885. What do you have to rant about tonight? What do you have to give praise about tonight? I'm going to give praise to the fact that, here in this county, we've got people who love their neighbors as ourselves. We look out for one another. And if you'll elect me for magistrate here in District 3, I'm going to keep up this tradition in this county of neighbor helping neighbor, of us looking out one for another, making sure that this county is a county that not only is great to raise our kids in, but our kids can look forward to knowing it'll be a great place to raise their kids. So, all right, y'all. Remember, united we stand, divided we fall. That's Kentucky's motto for a reason. Because we know we are our brother's keeper and we are our sister's keeper. Bless your corazon. Have a great Good Friday. Have a great Easter. And hopefully the Easter Bunny will bring you all the treats that you can imagine and want. And hopefully I'm going to get rained out. All right. We do always need the rain, though, to grow stuff, right? Don't forget those deployed overseas.
Foreclosed on farms across the